Hi everyone, welcome to Shuckle TV. Today we find ourselves back in the Hisui region as I am attempting to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Legends Arceus using only Grass-type Pokemon. Grass types have a bunch of things going for them. They're tied with Rock for having the most weaknesses, being weak to Poison, Fire, Bug, Ice, and Flying. But on offense, they're tied with Bug for the most resisted type, hitting 7 different types for half damage. Wait a minute, both of those are bad. Hold on, let me check the wiki. No redeeming qualities on the Bulbapedia grass type page. Okay, but look how cute this turtle is. And this owl is adorable, and that's what really matters, right? So for a full list of my hardcore Nuzlocke rules, check out the description, but in short, anything that faints is considered dead and unusable, no items in battle other than held items, no leveling past the next noble Pokemon, and I play on set mode, although in this game we all do. Lastly, I use Dupes Clause, meaning each of my grass types has to be unique. With that, I name myself Jake, and our story begins. Now this run will only be considered a success if we can take our little grass types and defeat the most powerful trainer in the region, a man who commands the embodiment of darkness itself. We wake up on a beach, meet the professor, and lovingly capture our starter Rowlet. We then get a cool reverse fanny pack and name our Rowlet Ched. We then meet our new friend and super kind pal, Ginkgo Merchant Volo, who challenges us to a battle. We approach him, stare into his eyes, and then irreparably shatter his tiny Togepi. We then complete our first test and become a member of the Team Galaxy Survey Squad. In the Obsidian Fieldlands, I look for my first encounter, an Eevee. Now, I will be catching other Pokemon to fill out the Pokedex to progress, but I will only ever use grass types in battle. After a lot of exploration, I don't find an Eevee, but I do reach Galaxy Rank 1 and then have to fight Akari. Surely I can defeat one Pikachu that we're 2 levels higher than, right? No. Pikachu paralyzes us, and we are fully paralyzed not once, but twice, and then Pikachu combos a quick attack and strong style Thundershock, and we lose Ched. I don't have any other grass types, so that's attempt 1. On to attempt 2. This time I actually find an Eevee, and considering how difficult it was to find, I want to carefully catch this, and I do manage to. I name him Zulius. Back to where I was on attempt 1. Surely 3 levels higher is enough, right? This time Pikachu uses Thundershock first, but of course it paralyzes, and their next hit crits, and then I'm fully paralyzed. Pikachu uses Thundershock, we live, and next turn we break through the paralysis and take it out. Thank goodness. Next we have to defeat the Munchlax that lives under this bridge. So this Munchlax is a nightmare, but I do have a strategy to beat it. It's a very long and boring fight though, and I'm going to be cutting everything that isn't interesting or a key fight. Soon after the fight, I evolve Rowlet into his ugly teenage form Dartrix, and I then manage to find a Burmy in a tree, catch it, and name her Water Baby. With that, we prepare to fight a giant cricket. Ched has to skate along the level cap here and dodge a crit in order to survive 2 aerial aces and finish off the Cricketune. We're then given a mission to stop a giant Kleavor, a scam artist increases my bag space, and we gain access to the ride Pokemon Weirdeer. This is by far my favorite ride Pokemon in the game. It allows you to cheat your way up to heights that you're not supposed to be able to reach yet. I use this to my advantage in order to find a Leaf Stone to evolve Eevee into Leafeon. You can Skyrim your way up cliffs, and up here there are some mining spots, and blue and gray rocks have a small chance to drop evolutionary stones, so I spent a couple hours doing this loop to grind out evolution stones, hoping for a Leaf Stone. My results were mixed at best. 1 Firestone, 4 Water Stones, and 2 Thunderstones. I spent 2 hours doing this and then found out that there is a moss rock in the Obsidian Fieldlands. If you're wondering why that's a big deal, it's because a moss rock lets you evolve Eevee into Leafeon by just standing next to it. Zulius picks up some amazing moves from the Move Tutor and then shows Aritta's Glaceon who's boss thanks to Calm Mind being incredibly broken in this game. It will be a valuable strategy in many fights to come. With that, it's time to fight the first Guardian, Kleavor. Now you can technically fight the nobles without ever sending out a Pokemon, but for a monotype Nuzlocke, that's not fair at all. That was already a video. Instead, I have a new rule. All noble fights have to be fought and defeated by your Pokemon at least once, otherwise the run is a loss. Therefore, I will just be showing the Pokemon fight for all future nobles. Zulius will be our main force in this fight, as he outspeeds Kleavor, has Baby Doll Eyes to lower attack, Calm Mind to boost his own offense and defense, and isn't weak to Kleavor's powerful Rock-type move, unlike my other 2 party members. really he's the only option. X-Scizor actually hits him pretty hard after the Calm Mind boost, meaning we can take him out in 2 hits. We avoid an Air Slash, and then finish him off with a second X-Scizor. With that, the first Noble is defeated, and we've saved the Obsidian Fieldlands. Back in Jubilife Village, we run into our lovely friend Volo, who congratulates us on our noble victory and is interested in an old tablet we found. I then do some shopping to try and figure out a grass trainer outfit, and yeah, well, off to the Crimson Mirelands. It's home to many grass types, including some of my favorites. It's here I catch a Carnivine that I name Glendale, and then soon after, Water Baby the Burmy evolves into a Wormadam. She'll be really important in one fight, and by that I mean she'll be in one fight. I then catch a Tangela and Cherubi, naming them Nowhere King and Jebri. Here's the full team. I then catch a Roselia and name her Wamawink. We're now going to cheese this river to cross before getting the Swimming Ride Pokemon. In this spot exactly, you can time your jump to land in the water close enough to swim to shore. By crossing, you can find multiple grass types, including our lovable little turtle, Turtwig. In the bottom right corner of this map, there's a little pond where Turtwig can show up. He gets spooked easily though, so I've got to sneak up on him. While I sneak towards him, why don't you let me know in the comments what your favorite grass type Pokemon is. Just don't type too loudly, we don't want to scare Turtwig off. I manage to bonk him on the head with a Great Ball and catch him. Well, actually I catch 2 here, but the first goes into my party, and that's our true turtle. I name him Stabby. I then catch a Petalil, but it's too high of a level to use for now, so I box her and name her Horse. She will be valuable later. It's then time to fight the Misfortune Sister Coin. Water Baby has Confusion, and Toxicroak is quadruple weak to Psychic-type moves, so with a strong style this should be a one-shot. The attack lands, and Toxicroak hangs on with a Sliver. Bye bye, Water Baby. Jebri comes in, kisses Water Baby's murderer, and the battle is ours. We return a slab of rock to an old lady. You might want to buff that out. Stabby then evolves into Grotle, and we beat up the old lady's teddy bear. Zulius is a powerhouse, and a couple Leaf Blades tear Ursaluna to shreds. After 20 minutes of cutscenes, we eventually make our way up to the peak of the Crimson Mirelands, prepared to stop the frenzied Noble Lilligant. This is by far the easiest Noble fight we're gonna get. Lilligant has no moves to hurt Ched effectively, and she's quadruple weak to flying moves, so Aerial Ace obliterates her. That's now 2 Nobles saved. Some of my Pokemon get incredible moveset upgrades thanks to the Move Tutor, and then I head back to the Obsidian Fieldlands to catch Alpha Parasect. I name her Judge Jacket. With that, it's time to head to the Cobalt Coastlands, probably the best area in the game. It's being guarded by another Glaceon fight though. Unfortunately, no matter how hard you try, you can't skip this fight. Look at her, taunting us in the distance. This Glaceon has Ice Beam and a second Eevee just there to help. Zulius already demonstrated his superiority over Glaceon, so hopefully he can do it again. I first boost my stats with Calm Mind, and Glaceon hits us with a powerful Ice Beam that we manage to live, and then Eevee hits us with a weak Quick Attack. At this point I just have to put faith in Zulius's power, and he lands a Leaf Blade that knocks out the Glaceon in one hit. From here, Eevee can't do anything, so while it's unnecessary, I use Rest, and then finish off the Eevee soon after. After a brisk jog up a mountain, we meet Polina, who sends us to meet Iscan, who helps us summon Basculegion, the swimming Pokemon. I then evolve Stabby into a Torterra so we can handle the coming battles. I also found a Sunstone, so Horse is able to evolve into a Hisuian Lilligant. I then make my way to Volcano Island, ready to stop the somewhat evil Misfortune Sisters. Abomasnow would usually be scary, but Leafeon with Calm Mind is kind of insane, in just this game. We do have to fight 3 battles in a row here without healing in between, but we have a Stabby, and he's ready for his first big battle. Spoiler alert, Stabby takes no prisoners, only trophies. Charm is the last of the 3 sisters and actually has 2 Pokemon, and while Rhydon is an easy kill, she has a Gengar in the back that will attack right away, so I switch out Zulius for Jebri. We still get to go first, so I just one-shot the Rhydon with an Energy Ball. Gengar comes out and goes for Hypnosis, missing it and throwing the battle. We then land Sleep Powder, Gengar is too drowsy to move, and I switch Jebri out for Glendale the Carnivine. Gengar then misses a second Hypnosis. Honestly, this thing has Sludge Bomb and shouldn't be wasting time using Hypnosis anyway. I love Carnivine's face when you use a style move. Crunch hits, wipes out the Gengar, and that's it. So this is the grit system in this game. Grit is the replacement for IVs and EVs, and at least from a Nuzlocking perspective, grit is both broken and removes some uniqueness from encounters. Overall, I dislike the system, but it does create situations like the one you are about to see. The Noble Arcanine is a Fire Rock type. It would usually be faster than a Torterra, but not a grit-infused one. With a ×4 weakness to ground, Bulldoze one-shots it. Other than the first Noble, they're all pretty easy with exploitable weaknesses as long as you're prepared. That's 3 down. We sped through the first half of the game, but now the more interesting battles will start ramping up. Chet evolves into Hisui Decidui. I like its visual design. As you can see, our team and backups are starting to look really good, but I'm excited for the awesome new members we get in the next area, the Coronet Highlands. It's here we have to travel through Wayward Cave with Ingo, a Gen 5 character who ended up in Hisui with amnesia. While Legends Arceus is quite far from being my favorite game, I do really like this cave segment and wish there had been more interesting dungeons and sub-areas. Eventually, we safely find the exit, easily destroy obnoxious Melly's Skuntank, meet up with super good friend guy Volo who asks us about our well-being, and then we find a wounded Bronzor. I'm not really sure how you can tell. It's time for the hardest fight yet, against Ingo, only because he has a powerful Glysaur. I lead with Zulius, and the battle starts similar to usual. Calm Mind to boost stats. Machoke hits us with a fairly weak double edge, and I retaliate with a Leaf Blade that one-shots it. Glysaur comes out and hits us with a strong poison jab that also poisons. After some deliberating, I decide to go for rest to heal and cure the poison. Unfortunately, Glysaur hits us with another poison jab, and I learned poison can overwrite the sleep status in this game. So I rest again, but then my stats return to normal and Poison Jab hits us incredibly hard. I switch to Stabby, since his ground typing will at least make poison do neutral damage. I go for a Leaf Blade and it does over half, while Glysaur hits us with a quick attack into an Aerial Ace. Stabby easily tanks it though, and then finishes Glysaur off with a Leaf Blade. That was really the only hurdle. He then has a Tangela that doesn't do much. I switch to Wamawink and one-shot it with a Sludge Bomb. After collecting the lost satchels of other players, I'm able to buy a shiny stone and finally evolve Wamawink into a Roserade. I was able to get this sick lawnmower so I can get Rotom's grass form. I am now able to catch 2 of our most important team members, Hisui Voltorb and Rotom, our only resistances to the flying type. I name them Durpleton and Ryder. I then evolve our newly acquired small ball into a larger, angrier sphere. We destroy Melly's 3v1 Stinky Skuntank fight and then prepare to fight the Noble Electrode. This is a very easy fight for grass types as Electrode only has grass and electric moves, both of which are resisted by grass. The main problem would be paralysis hacks, but Wamawink breaks through and lands a Sludge Bomb and one-shots Electrode. With that, we've defeated the 4th Noble of the game and are ready to move on to the final area. We make our rival's Pikachu pay for the pain it has caused us in these runs, and then move on to the Alabaster Icelands. Every Pokemon game needs an ice area. While exploring, I catch an Abomasnow and call him Comfy Doug. He won't ever join the team, but he's a valuable bench warmer. This is what our endgame team is looking like, by the way. Wamawink, Stabby, Zulius, Horse, Durpleton, and Ryder. We get into what should be a scary fight against Warden Gairu's Glalie Frostlass, but Horse is incredibly powerful and has access to probably the best setup move that has ever existed in Pokemon, Victory Dance, although we don't even need it for this fight, easily one-shotting both ice types unboosted. Things are going to get a lot more difficult pretty soon though. We then have to play a really long and boring game of hide and seek with a small child, enter Snowpoint Temple, and then, hold on, wait a minute, something's wrong here. There is no way this is a fair fight. They only brought 3 Pokemon to take on the Stabby? Amateurs. Magmortar falls to a Bulldoze, Electivire can't think straight and goes for an electric move, and Rhyperior knows there is no point in fighting back against Stabby the Torterra, falling to a Leaf Blade. Stabby then finishes the killing spree, ending Electivire with a Bulldoze. Battle decided. At the peak, we have to take on Braviary in order to gain the ability to fly, but flying types are no longer a problem for us, and Durpleton easily takes the Braviary down with 2 Thunderbolts. We gain the ability to fly, but honestly it's really boring. We use it to gain some special ice, run into our super helpful kind neighborly pal Volo, and then take on the final Noble Avalugg. This thing is terrifying. Visually, because of its size. In battle, it's pathetic. It has the same special defense as a Bunnelby, sporting a whopping 36. It goes down to a single Aura Sphere. With that, we've defeated all 5 nobles. We're reaching the end of the game. Just a bit of a slog of dialogue left now. Unfortunately, for very poorly written reasons, we are kicked out of the village, and Silene is just not interested in playing games right now. Luckily, our sympathetic, generous, selfless, incredibly wonderful companion Volo has our back and finds us a safe place to stay. Here we meet Kagita, who basically tells us we have to undergo a few trials in order to get an object that will help stop Calamity Ganon from destroying the land. After collecting the Lake Trio's body parts, we turn them into this cool chain. It definitely won't break immediately. And now for our greatest threat yet, the head chief from Jubilife Village, who's also a ninja? He leads with Mismagius, and I lead with Horse. I set up first with Victory Dance, Lilligant's signature move, as it increases my offensive stats, defensive stats, and increases damage dealt by 50%. These 2 different offense increases stack multiplicatively, leading to an 125% damage increase in one cast. Mismagius doesn't stand a chance. Gardevoir comes out next and lands a powerful Psychic. This is why setting up isn't a foolproof strategy. Your opponent is almost always going to come in and get a hit, so I switch out Horse for Zulius. I'm able to immediately go, so I take this turn to set up Calm Mind, boosting my stats, but Gardevoir also does the same, which is kind of annoying. I go for Leaf Blade to test our damage, but it crits and kills, so all's well that ends well. Sneasler comes out next, and since it's a poison type, we can't do much to it, so I go for an Agile style Leaf Blade to chip away at it, and it does some alright damage. Since it's still my action, I switch out Zulius and send in Stabby, who tanks a stab critical close combat quite well. After that, a single Bulldoze is enough to knock out Sneasler, leaving only one Pokemon left, Gallade. Stabby is a bit too injured, so I switch him out for Ryder, and then immediately go for a Thunder Wave to cripple the Gallade. It ends up fully paralyzed right away, so I go for Shadow Ball next, which almost one-shots it, but Benny goes for a Max Potion and begins the cycle anew. I go for another Shadow Ball, leaving it in the red, and then immediately land a 3rd Shadow Ball, taking it out and winning the fight. We get ready to exit the cave and take on Commander Kamado in an intense battle to the death. Oh hey, our friend Volo. This man has an entire suit of armor on and trekked up a mountain. He leads with Braviary, but we've already conquered flying types. Is this a satchel? Someone straight up died here. Anyway, 2 Agile style Thunderbolts are more than enough to outspeed and knock out this Braviary. Snorlax comes out next and hits us with a high horsepower, but we take the hit well. I then go for a Strong Style Thunder Wave, as the style impacts how long status effects last, with Strong Style lasting an extra turn. He then hits us with a Zen Headbutt, and I switch out Durpleton and send in his son Stabby. With Stabby in, I go for a Leaf Blade, which does a bit less than half, and then Snorlax hits us with a pretty powerful Giga Impact. After that, we have 2 turns in a row though, but the first Leaf Blade crits and takes out Snorlax. Golem comes out next, hits us with a weak Double Edge, and then as you'd expect, dies immediately to a Leaf Blade. Clefable comes out last and hits us with a Psychic, so I bring back Stabby and send out Zulius. I go for a Calm Mind in order to boost my stats, and then Clefable hits us with a weak Psychic that unfortunately lowers my defenses. Not a problem though, as a single Leaf Blade almost knocks out the Clefable. We get a second attack though, and do a Strong Style Leaf Blade just for the heck of it. We even crit. With that, we've won the battle. Some weird stuff happens, Dialga shows up, and then we catch him with a single Ultra Ball. To progress, we need a cool red rock, but the Misfortune Sisters try to stop us, and we need to fight Charm one last time. She leads with Rhydon, and I lead with Wamawink the Roserade. Rhydon is an easy knockout, getting obliterated by a single Energy Ball. Gengar comes out next, immediately goes for an Agile style Shadow Ball, dealing a small amount of damage, but then he lands a Hypnosis, and I decide to risk it and go for Shadow Ball. We break through the Drowsy condition, crit our Shadow Ball, and take out Gengar. Not many fights left. With Dialga's help, we are able to break Palkia's barrier and disarm them. It's time to fight. I lead with Durpleton against Palkia so I can outspeed and paralyze it with a Thunder Wave. Palkia ends up fully paralyzed. I go for Thunderbolt, dealing a bit of damage, but with our speed and Palkia's paralysis, we can go multiple times in a row. With Palkia almost dead, it lands a critical spatial rend and then falls to a 3rd Thunderbolt. After defeating it, we are able to toss our special red Pokeball at it and capture it, stopping all future disasters. Totally fine. Our level cap rises for the last time to 70, and we get some help from our honorable, neighborly, peaceful go-getter pal Volo, who says we should collect the rest of the plates to try and meet Arceus. We defeat a souped-up Alpha Vespiquen and get a stone plate. After that, we talk to Kagita with our best friend Volo and find out about all the legendaries we have to capture in order to get their plates. We have to catch Mesprit, Azelf, Uxie, Cresselia, Heatran, stare deeply into Arida's face, Regigigas, and then battle Commander Kamado again. I don't know why he has to put on armor for this battle at the beach, but he leads with Golem, and I lead with Wamawink. A single energy ball is more than enough to take out the Golem. Clefable comes out next and sets up a Calm Mind. That's kinda bad for us. I go for a strong style Sludge Bomb, hoping it may be enough to one-shot it. Unfortunately, it falls short of the kill, and then Kamado uses a full restore. At this point, I go for a regular Sludge Bomb and take a very powerful Psychic. I switch out Wamawink and switch in Zulius, deciding to just go straight for a Leaf Blade, and it knocks Clefable out. Braviary comes out next, but we still have initiative, so I switch out Zulius and send in Durpleton. A single Thunderbolt wipes out Braviary. I love the way that Electrode just wobbles all around. Snorlax comes out next, and I decide to go for a Thunder Wave, but end up missing. Snorlax then hits us with a powerful Fire Punch and burns us. We get 2 attacks in a row though, so I go for Thunder Wave again and then switch out. This looks like a job for Durpleton's son, Stabby. I go for Bulldoze instead of Leaf Blade because it slows the action speed of the enemy, and that combined with the paralysis is not going to give Snorlax many attacks. We get 2 Leaf Blades in a row, and it finishes him off. Kamado's final Pokemon is a Heracross who sets up a Swords Dance and then hits us with a Pin Missile. I bring back Stabby and send out Ryder because I need to cripple this thing. A strong style Thunder Wave means it'll be paralyzed the whole time its attack is boosted. Pin Missile hits us hard, but then I get a free turn to land a Thunderbolt, dealing over half of its health, giving us the opportunity to finish it off with a strong style Thunderbolt. The Heracross was scary, but that's it, Kamado down. He gives us one of the final plates, and we meet back up with Volo and Kagita, and our old pal Volo is perhaps a bit too excited. Our considerate thoughtful would never betray us once-in-a-lifetime amigo Volo tells us to meet him on top of Spear Pillar for a fun surprise. I can't believe what I'm about to say, but our greatest ally, the one who stood by us this entire time, the one who stood up for us when everyone else turned us away, the one who always had our back, has been using us this whole time to collect these plates. Does anyone else hear piano? He was no archaeology aficionado, he's just another man who wants to conquer God and make Arceus' power his own. I steel myself for the final battle against our once friend, now enemy, Volo. His team not only matches, but also surpasses Cynthia's. He leads with Spiritomb, and I lead with Zulius, immediately going for a Calm Mind to boost my stats, because regardless of the game, when do you not set up against the lead Spiritomb? He hits us with a weak Dark Pulse, and then I retaliate with a Leaf Blade, nearly knocking it out. We get another action though, so I use an Agile-style Leaf Blade to conserve some momentum and take out the Spiritomb. Arcanine comes out next, hits us with a Fire-type move, but doesn't do that much damage, honestly. Zulius has been the MVP of this run, so we've got to keep him alive. I switch him out and send in Stabby to bulldoze this Arcanine just like the Noble one a long time ago. It easily one-shots her. Next up is Togekiss, who's pretty scary. We get hit with a powerful Air Slash, and we switch Stabby out for Durpleton. We need to conserve as much health as possible during this fight. I considered leading with Thunder Wave, but decided to go with a strong style Thunderbolt instead, which is more than strong enough to one-shot the Togekiss. That's half the team down, but out comes Roserade, who hits us with spikes. No idea why it didn't Poison Jab. Durpleton doesn't have any moves to hurt a Roserade, so I switch him out and send Zulius back in. This is because I should be able to set up Calm Mind and then rest to heal. Roserade goes for spikes again. It has a super effective poison move. I go for an X-Scissor and it just barely survives. We get a second move, so I decide now is probably a good time to rest and heal, fully recovering. Volo uses a full restore on Roserade, and then I go for an X-Scissor and it lands, leaving Roserade in the red again. We shake off the spikes, our Calm Mind boosts wear off, and Roserade hits us with another spikes. I then switch Zulius back out again, and send Durpleton in, again to finish off this Roserade with an Agile-style Thunderbolt. Since I know it's going to kill, I also want to conserve as much momentum and action speed as possible. Roserade falls, but out next is Lucario, which is a pretty threatening Pokemon. I decide the best option is to cripple it with Thunder Wave, but I miss. Man, 90% never works when you need it to. Lucario then bulks up. This is not good. I cannot risk missing Thunder Wave again, so I go for a strong style which will guarantee it hits, and paralyze for 5 of his turns. Lucario is then fully paralyzed. Works every time. I then go for an Agile style Thunderbolt, as it will do some damage, and allow me to act again, and then a regular Thunderbolt, which does not finish him off. He then hits me with a close combat, doing a huge amount of damage, and it's here that I make a big mistake. The turn order shows we will act twice in a row, but that's not accurate when anything is knocked out, and I take out Lucario with a Thunderbolt. In comes Garchomp, who acts before us and crits a Dragon Claw, killing Durpleton, our first dead team member in a long time. While we still have 5 team members, if you think Garchomp is the end of this, you couldn't be further from the truth. I send in a sleepy Zulius to attempt to avenge Durpleton, going for a Calm Mind first to boost my stats. I then go for a Leaf Blade, hitting Garchomp hard, and then Zulius fights off the drowsiness. Never punished. Garchomp hits us with a Dragon Claw, but it does negligible damage. We strike back with a Leaf Blade, critting, twisting the knife in the wound, so Garchomp pays for what he's taken away from us. We've defeated all of Volo's Pokemon, but it doesn't look like he's done. He's still got a few tricks up his sleeve. He calls out to his partner, the Renegade. Without the ability to heal or change our lineup, Giratina makes his appearance, ready to destroy everything in front of him. Can we stop this malevolent shadow beast? We're certainly gonna try. Giratina leads with Giratina, and we have to send out a partially injured Zulius. Giratina also gets a huge permanent buff to all of his stats and takes reduced damage from statuses, so that's fun. Game Freak decided to one-up the Ultra Necrozma fight. Either way, we lead with Calm Mind to boost our stats and see what Giratina is capable of. He uses Shadow Force, and besides looking awesome, it does a lot of damage and also obscures him. If you're wondering what Obscure does, it means he has a chance to dodge all attacks now. Sadly, he resists Leaf Blade, but we just have to chip away at him. Shadow Force hits hard again, and I decide to hit him with another Leaf Blade. Every bit of damage counts. I then go for a rest to fully heal Zulius, but then our stats return to normal. Giratina then hits us with a Shadow Force, dealing almost half of our health. There's not a ton that Zulius can do versus Giratina, but I go for Calm Mind again. Sadly, Sleep finally catches up with us, making our move fail, and Giratina hits us with another Shadow Force, leaving Zulius low. At this point, it's not worth switching, so I go for Rest, but it fails, and Giratina goes for another Shadow Force. Zulius, our MVP, who's been with us since the beginning, loses his life. That one hurts. We send out Ryder, and it's time to take revenge, and put tempo back on our side. I go for a strong style Thunder Wave, but Giratina just dodges it. We get another attack though, and I decide to go for a Shadow Ball. It also misses. It's amazing how quickly one can lose confidence. Giratina hits us with a critical Dragon Claw, and I decide to go for a regular Thunder Wave, and it does land. Giratina ends up fully paralyzed. We learned our hacks from the Pikachu that took attempt 1 down. With his obscured status gone, Shadow Ball does a nice chunk of damage, and then I go for another Shadow Ball, hitting him hard, but it doesn't take him out. He ends up fully paralyzed again, one final Shadow Ball, and Giratina falls. Or at least that's what he just wanted us to think. Giratina stands his ground, harnesses the shadows, and transforms into an even more powerful form, unleashing his true strength, regaining his full health, and then it uses Shadow Force. It misses though, so that's good. I will say, this fight and transformation is my favorite part of the game. It was incredible to see the first time around. I go for a strong style Thunder Wave to temporarily cripple this powerhouse, and he ends up fully paralyzed. It really does always work. I decide to go straight for Shadow Balls and do as much damage as possible, but Giratina then lands a Shadow Force that hits incredibly hard, almost knocking Ryder out. Giratina becomes obscured, and while I could switch, I get 2 turns in a row, so I go for a Shadow Ball, hitting hard. And then I decide to swap out Ryder for Womawink, as I might want to paralyze Giratina later if things get bad. You never know what can happen versus evasion. I go for a strong style Shadow Ball, and it misses, exactly why I switched. Giratina hits us with a Shadow Force, and it cuts through over half of Womawink's health. At this point, Womawink dies if she misses the Shadow Ball. It connects though, and it finishes off Giratina. But then he transforms into his 3rd form. Oh wait, never mind. He's actually dead now. Phew. We lost 2 Pokemon in the fight, and almost lost 2 others. But we've done it. We've conquered Pokemon Legends Arceus' hardest fight with only grass types. Volo finally accepts his own defeat, and then he just kinda leaves, and that's it. We don't have any Hall of Fame to check in at, but we do have 4 incredible living team members that will remember the battles we fought and the losses we took on. So many team members put in incredible work to carry me through this challenge. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, everyone. This has been Shuckle TV.